Hello and welcome to our new edition of Inter IR Talks. I am Rafa Vitória, Inter's Chief Economist and Investor Relations Officer. Today I'm very happy to have João Vitor Menin, our Global CEO, to join our conversation. Hi João, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rafa. It's a pleasure to be with you. I love the first IR Talks, the one you did with Santi, and I'm very excited to chat with you today.
So to start our conversation, tell us a little bit about your career at Inter and our expansion recently.
Okay, Rafa, it's a very good question. I believe that most of our investors, employees, and maybe regulators, they don't know about my background, to be honest. And I started in Inter back in 2004. At that time, I was doing my graduation in engineering. I'm a civil engineer by graduation. And back then, I started here on the investment side, going door by door, trying to convince our family and friends to invest at Inter. And since then, I was just upgrading my job description here. Then at the end of the day, by 2015, I stepped in as the CEO. Back then, Inter was a fraction of what we are today in number of clients, the size of the balance sheet and so on, the complexity of the company. But it was an important challenge for me. I learned a lot. I learned about the traditional banking aspects, so such as ALM, cost of risk and everything. But also, I learned a lot about technology. I was always connected to this side of the business, to this portion of the business, so how we could launch our operation on cloud and so on, how we could build our application. So it was a very interesting time. So from 15 to today to learn and improve these two skills, the technology part, the innovation, but also the tradition of the banking business, the core of the banking business. So I mean, I would say that I've learned a lot, but still a lot to learn.
Good. So let's talk a bit more about innovation. I believe innovation is one of the key differentiators at Inter that puts Inter apart from the market. Everything since the first digital account back in 2015 to the global account today. So how do you see innovation playing a part on this expansion and especially at Inter's culture?
Rafa, as I just told you before, I was an engineer. I graduated as an engineer. And not only that, I would say that I have one trait, which is being a very curious person, a very innovative person. I like to improve my creativity. So it's something that I really love it. So since I was a kid, to be honest, I was trying to do things in a different way, with a different approach, trying to see things from a different angle. And this is the approach, this is the culture that I try to put at Inter, and this is how I like to run the business. That said, not only we are expanding to other geographies today, such as going to US and later on to other markets, but I consider that we did some other expansions in the past, connecting with the innovative approach. For instance, first of all, as I told, we were just a local banking franchise, trying to raise funds from our family and friends, and then we expand this approach to the rest of Brazil. So this was our first expansion. But later, we expanded from only financial service to non-financial service as well, being the first bank to put a commerce operation inside our app, and that's why we call today our app the Super App. So it's in our DNA, in our blood. I mean, this idea of expanding and improving and raising the bar. And important to mention, what is behind that? What really motivates us to do that? And it's not a cliche. We really want to see our clients having access to the best, to the most, I would say, fair banking solution, but also to more convenient for you on your day-to-day life. So this is what pushes ahead. So let's improve this because our clients will love. Let's make this different from what our competitor is doing, because therefore we can reduce the cost or facilitate the life of our clients. So this is this is the spark inside ourselves that move us ahead to expand, innovate, and with this spirit on our company and our culture, we decided the last piece of expansion and innovation was to go abroad, to go outside of Brazil, and we are doing that through the launch of our very unique product that we call our Global Account. So we want to facilitate the lives of our clients, first of all the Brazilians, but later on other geographies, for them to have like a global account, a partner for their travel needs, for their business needs, for their, education needs abroad. So this is what is behind our expansion to United States.
Yeah, that's great. And when we talk about innovation that really drives the strategy, we also mentioned in the last quarter earnings the Inter by Design concept. So innovation drives the strategy, but looking ahead, especially looking to have a long-term relationship with our clients, Inter by Design is critical to have this sustainable relationship. What are some of the examples that investments that we have made or products that we focused on that defines the Inter by Design concept?
That's a very good question, Raf. So when we mention about Inter by Design, I think that it's a key element for the success of the company so far and for our success moving ahead. And why I say that? When we, again, Inter by Design, we improve the way we're doing business at Inter, trying to combine the best cost of risk, the best debt service, the best or the lowest fee for our clients on banking, non-banking, insurance, investments, all the verticals that we have. This is what we call Inter by Design. So it's not a zero-sum game. We don't need to make money on top of our clients. It's the other way around. We want to make money for ourselves, for the shareholders, for the employees, because these are very important stakeholders. But we want to do that by reducing the debt service, by facilitating the life of the clients. This is a win-win situation. So Inter by Design is based on the win-win approach. And how can we achieve that? I mean, for you to achieve that, you need to change the status quo. For instance, when we improve the distribution of products by doing that digitally and not with the brands, with all the footprint that the traditional banks used to still have, we do that more efficiently, and therefore we can share this efficiency with our clients. So this is what is behind the success of Inter. We innovate, use technology, use different approach, and therefore we can increase the efficiency of the business and share that with all the stakeholders.
Oh, that's very interesting. But when we talk about Inter by Design, I think there's also the other side that Inter has a very low cost of funding. Capital allocation is very important for us. Talk a little bit about that side of the balance sheet. How do you see that providing this substance for Inter to continue to grow and to grow with profitability?
Good, Rafa. Remember I told you that I started at Inter on the investment side, so I was there going door by door, trying to convince family and friends to invest at Inter. So, and because of that, because that's how I started on the banking business, I'm very passionate about the liabilities of a bank. I believe that a very good banking business starts from a good liability. Therefore, you do the underwriting, you have your good spreads, your good NIMs, your good cost of risk. And for you to have a good cost of risk, you need to underwrite for good clients. And for that, you need good rates. And to have good rates, you need to have good funding, both on cost and quality. And I remember that I was, as I told you, passionate about that, how to have the best liabilities, the best funding franchise in the market. And one thing that really was an important milestone for this idea that I had was the financial crisis. At the financial crisis back in 2009, the smart investment bankers at that time, they were on the corner, and the traditional banks in the United States, the ones with the savings of hundreds of millions of Americans, they were fine because they have a very good funding. not only the cost, but the quality. And as of today, this is what Inter has obtained. So we have millions, literally millions, actually 21 million clients providing funding for us. So we're talking about also time deposits, but mostly demand deposits. They use the Inter for their daily lives, their financial daily lives. And that said, we have a very good cost, but also very good quality of funding. So you don't have a wholesale funding approach at Inter, the opposite of that. And with that in place, the Inter by design, we're able to underwrite better. We're able to have good NIMs, and so it's a virtual cycles. More clients, better cost of funding, better funding diversification, better underwriting, better earnings, and this is what we have been doing since I started here, trying to collect funds from door to door. So.
That's great. And let's change a bit to technology. So in order to innovate, we need to keep technology up to date. And since we started with the digital account, we were the first bank to have all our services in the cloud. But technology keeps evolving. What do you think is new today? What do you see technology being different and improving the app or improving services for our clients in the near future?
Okay, Rafa, but before I answer that, I really love the concept of ambidextrous. So I believe that myself as the CEO, the Global CEO, I need to combine the tradition of the good banking approach, as we were talking, asset liability management, cost of funding, cost of risk, but we need also to have one eye on the technology, on the innovative approach of Inter. So that's the true concept of a fintech. So it's a financial company, but with a lot of technology embedded. And I really love to combine these two things and to balance these two things to put Inter on the best place. That said, I like to say that technology at the end of the day is just a tool. And when I mean just a tool, in a good way, it's affordable, it's available for everyone. The difference is how we're going to use that technology, for what purpose, with which structure. So when we talk about cloud, for instance, when we talk about our super app, I would say that the cloud was available for everyone back in 2016, but Inter was the first bank to migrate 100% to cloud. So it's not about ourselves at the time that we had a better balance sheet. The other way around, our balance sheet was smaller than the incumbent banks, but we had the right approach. So how can we use what is available to benefit our business, to benefit our clients? So we always had this mindset. And as of today, when we think about, for instance, AI, which is this new technology that I wouldn't say it's emerging, it's already there. And we listen to many analysts and experts saying, oh, you're going to be more efficient because you're going to, save X% in customer service. I say, no, guys, that's not the right approach, not the right use for the technology. But how can we improve the experience for our clients with AI? Can they invest better? Can they borrow better with us with AI? And if you have the right approach, we can get the most out of the new technology. Because again, it's affordable, the cost to use is the same for everyone. The gap between a successful company or a not so successful company in a new technology momentum journey, it's how you use that. So, and this is something that I personally like to be very, very much involved together with Guilherme, our CIO. So back then, how we could use cloud to improve things for our clients, to improve our products, how we could use the applications, everything that's under the hood for our super app to make it more convenient, more faster, more efficient. So it's the same today with AI. So long story short, it's not the technology that is available. It's how we're going to use that. And that's what I try to do every single day at Inter. So how can you get these new things that are emerging? For instance, how can we improve the use with IoT? How can we improve the use with whatever? Our new technology that is on software and hardware, how can we combine that to offer the best for our clients? So that's the mindset that we have here at Inter, to adopt and to improve the use of the old technologies and the new technologies that are emerging.
Okay. Also, as the economist, I cannot not ask about macro. A lot of our investors ask us about the challenges in Brazil. But when we look at our most recent history, Inter grows 30% per year. Brazil's economy grow by 3%, 2.5% per year. So it's not even comparable. How do you look into the future? How do you look into our growth potential into the future, even though we have some challenges in the economy here?
Okay, Rafa, so just to connect with another question that you just did me, it's about changing the status quo that I told you. So remember about the zero-sum game. So if you are on a zero-sum game, you're just relying on if the economy is going well or not that well, if the unemployment rate are over here or over there. What we're trying to do, again, Inter by Design, is to change the approach. So can we build a business that is less dependent on the success of the country, how the GDP is improving, or how the interest rate is going up or down? Yes, it's possible to do that with the technology, with the right approach, with all the application, with a lot of creativity that we have in place, combining different verticals into one single super app. And that said, I'm proud that as of today, of course, if the rates go up and down, it does impact Inter, yes, but less than impact that we see in our competitors. So I like to say that we created a business that we don't have a lot of beta, we have a lot of alpha. For instance, connecting to the credit portfolio. Because we have this good cost of funding, the good distribution costs, we can offer good rates for clients looking for a mortgage, for a payroll loan, and therefore we're talking about collateralized products. And with the rates going up or down, employment going up or down, we're not that dependent on that. Just to give an example, how we try to manage our operations to avoid this beta approach and trying to create alpha to our portfolio, to our operation, to our balance sheet, to our earnings. So that's how we have been managing Inter so far.
And our last topic is about the 60-30-30. We have a very ambitious plan to reach 60 million clients, 30% efficiency ratio, and 30% ROE in 2027. We are halfway through. What's your view on what we have accomplished so far, and what's the next step going to be?
Yes, Rafa, interesting, because you just mentioned that we have an ambitious plan, and it was when we unveiled that plan to the market, and not only to the market, for ourselves, for the employees, for the board, and so on. And it's still ambitious today. And that's exactly what makes me happy about the project, that it's an ambitious project. When people ask, oh, how can you cultivate the innovation and the creativity at your company? How can you improve that? This is a good example. When you put something that is ambitious in place, you foster this concept of how can you do things differently? How can you see things from a different angle in order to improve how we have been operating the business in the past? And you can now do something that it's with less capital allocation, with less acquisition cost, you can improve things. So every time that you put these goals ahead, these milestones that you want to get there, and they are ambitious, you get out of the comfort zone, and then you improve. You try to be more creative, more innovative, and that's what we have been doing at Inter since the beginning. So when we decided that we wanted to IPO the company back in 2018, we did a lot of different things from the traditional underwriting process to get there in a very short period of time. When you decided, for instance, to migrate Inter from B3, the exchange in Brazil, to NASDAQ in US, was the first of its kind transaction. So how could we accomplish that? So we put the target, we put the milestone, and we make sure that we want to get there, we have the will, and we will get there, we need to get there, and then we improve the way we're thinking, we change the status quo. And so I love these ambitious plans. And that said, I mean, as of today, we are on track on our 6-30-30. I believe that we still have a lot of operational leverage to capture for us to keep delivering that project. And also not only the 6-30-30, because I mean, we're talking about 2027. And as of today, we're not running Inter for 2027. We're running Inter for 2027, but also for 2030, 2035. And one important thing, we want to get there, but without putting the future of Inter at risk at all. So we want to deliver efficiency, ROE, cost to income, but still, as we just discussed, going abroad, bringing new verticals to the super app, using the best technology available, bringing the best talent. So this is about balance the two things, the future and the present and the monetization, but also the quality and the innovation, also to generate value for the shareholder, but also for the client. So this is what drives me on a daily basis. How can we do the best arbitrage, the best balance between these two things? So I'm very excited with the project, and maybe more excited with what I see ahead of that, ahead of the 2027, which is a very, I'd say, unique project, having this super app running not only in Brazil, but who knows, maybe in 10, 15 different geographies in an asset-light approach, not necessarily having balance sheet in different geographies, but having this global account concept as the conduit for that, for millions of clients to start using it on board. And so I really think that we still have a lot of exciting years ahead for the company.
2027 is definitely not the finish line.
Not the finish line, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much, João, for joining us in this conversation. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in our next episode of IR Talks.